Joining us today is SIAAC, and Mark is going to give us a bit more information about one of their latest developments. They've got quite a few up their sleeves, and the one that they are going to be presenting on today is a virtual tool. I was a little surprised when I saw the tool the first time, but if you look at what the tool does, and the application of where you'd be able to use the tool and how it could potentially reduce your risk, and not only reducing your risk, but possibly giving your customer a view into how their system is going to look before the system is actually been installed. I think it's going to be a game changer. Thank you very much for attending our meeting or attending our webinar. I'm going to hand over, Mark. Do you want to start your presentation?
I think we can start. I think everybody's eager to get to the VR stuff. Morning, everybody. My name is Mark. I am the Chief Technical Officer for SIAAC, and I'm going to be doing two things today. Firstly, welcome. And it's really a pleasure to be able to show you guys this piece of tech that we've developed over the last couple of months. And yeah, it's really an honor to see where the solar industry is heading and the advanced level of tools that we have at our disposal right now. So the two things I wanna do today is, the first is I want to introduce SIAAC to those of you that don't know SIAAC yet. That's going to be a very short presentation. And then shortly after, we will need to move over to a meeting form of Teams. That would mean reconnecting to a second link. Then we just have to wait for everybody to join in. But that's unfortunately the only way I can show you what I'm seeing inside of this virtual reality tour. So for now, cracking on with the presentation, SIAAC is a distributor in the renewable energy space in Africa, all right? But we have evolved from just pushing products to solutions, right? So the SIAAC name is an acronym for Solutions, Innovation, Authenticity, Agility, and Competitiveness. And those 5 key points we bring to each and every quotation, each and every design, each and every solution that we try and implement. Today, we're going to focus mainly on the innovation side of SIAAC, right? A couple of things. So SIAAC was the first company in Southern Africa to onboard SIG Energy, okay? So the first company to see Tony Zhu's vision and to bring that to South Africa. And I think that benefited a lot of people in our industry, okay? So that's what partnership means. It's a shared belief. We go that extra mile. We are authentic. We understand people. We understand EPCs. We understand installers at every level. Our support team. So what sets us apart from the rest is our technical engineers. So we have 5 branches across South Africa, and each one of those branches has a very skilled technical engineer at your disposal. So any of the SIAAC customers, for any size of job, any question, any time of day, our SIAAC technical team is there to support, okay? Then, through our partnership with SIG Energy, we have access to the SIG Energy local support team, all right? Which just assists with software-related issues, things that our guys do not have access to on the ground. And then from there, we also have a direct link with SIG Global R&D. The reason we decided to invest in not an after-sales approach, but more pre-sales engineering design team is so that we can assist customers with their projects. Obviously, we as SIAAC have only one product, which is SIG Energy, and we have a couple of panel brands that we trust and that we sell. And then we've partnered on mounting structure, we've partnered on cable. So these are only brands that are vetted by our internal team and that we feel comfortable designing with. To that extent, because we only stick with one brand, we know that brand in and out. On the SIG Energy side, we've done about 1,600 active sites with SIG Energy that are currently live. And that with that comes a lot of experience, a lot of mistakes they've made. So our design team can pull from that wealth of knowledge and assist you with your design completely free. So the true benefit of being a SIAAC customer is that you get access to a design team for pre-sales engineering. You get access to, well, very competitive pricing. You get access to logistics services. You get access to after sales or commissioning and installation support and after sales support on a global level. So we started out being the first guys to do 3D renderings of designs, right? To kind of lay out what a site would look like to a potential end user. That evolved into virtual reality. Okay. So with the Vector VR, that's the name of the software, is Vector VR, is you can design inside of this tool, right? You can optimize and refine your layouts, and you can visualize and experience your system in a one-to-one scale. And then obviously presenting outside of VR or inside of VR to your end user is an absolute game changer. So I think for now, the anticipation is probably really high.
Okay, to start off, the demo I'm about to show you is filmed on a MetaQuest 3. Okay, it's a heavily modified MetaQuest 3. I'll show you guys the device a bit later. All right, so what this device with the SIAAC software allows you to do, right, as all of us can attest to, if you have a site assessment, right, almost everything can go wrong at the point of a site assessment. If a measurement's off, if we didn't take a picture of something, somebody's going back to site, something doesn't fit, we spend extra money, extra time, which then costs money. So what this tool allows us to do first and foremost is, because it's got LiDAR, you should be able to see my hand, because it's got LiDAR sensors inside the headset, in the face, right? We could now allow our technical engineers to go to site with such a headset and scan the installation area. Like, for example, this room. I could scan this room and then save that 3D data for use later, okay? Or I could simply draw the walls and doors and start annotating live things in my site. Like, for example, I could walk up to this cabinet and say, this is a cabinet, and start annotating that. The main idea for this is that we can go to site, scan everything in a one-to-one scale, right? Save that to a file and take it back with us to the office. Then we have all the video, images, and the 3D model to work with when we get back to the office. Now, this is where our demo would start, right? I've scanned a site. One of my team members has started building a site in the solution, and I'm now back at the office, and I want to load up this file. So I've got the file prepped on this little desk here, and as you can see, it's quite cute in its scale. But now that we've made modifications to this project, right, and we've added some stuff, I would like to test the placement of these items in the real world. Okay, are we all still good? Okay, you can still see my video?
Yes, we can see the video. That's looking like it's like a mini scale model. In fact, it shows us the scale 1 to 25 or 1 to 24 at the bottom.
So I'm just going to grab this. So what's important to note as I go down, I'm going to do this really slowly, okay? Because what's important to note is you can see my environment, my surroundings. I can see my surroundings, meaning that this isn't like a conventional, this isn't like a conventional VR solution where you're fully immersed in the solution. You are safe on a construction site because I can see everything, and I can see it as if I'm looking through my own eyes. Okay, so let me just take this heavy equipment down into the warehouse quickly. Hey, Marty. All right, so Mati very graciously cleared us a space in his warehouse. So now I can, for example, if this was my customer site, I could now pull this up at 1-to-1 scale. And I would obviously line this up with a marker that I placed in the real world. So there would be some marker that I mark in the VR solution. Let me just grab all of these things. They're really heavy, guys. Just give me a second. And then I'll move it across here. Boom. Okay. How's the view looking? Are we still good on frame rate?
Yes. Yeah, the frame rate, we don't see any lagging. We can see the inverters clearly. We can see the carport structure. It looks like bifacial panels.
All right. So what we see here is a SIG Energy solution. As I said before, we are 100% partnered with SIG Energy. We specialize in SIG Energy, and we know the solution inside out. In fact, we've actually submitted some customizations to the SIG Energy solution fairly recently. So I just want to do something quickly.
So
No,
what
this shouldn't break.
are those settings that you are changing now? Is this part of the, I'm assuming it's part of the headset setup?
Yes. So the tool set inside of the headset that would allow you to create all of this in the headset, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate today, but that we will definitely get into in another session where we do training on the use of the headset. So this current installation is a 440 kilowatt with 880 kilowatt hours of storage. Everything's connected up. All right, so I can see my tech engineers did a really good job on this. We've got all the breakers, DC protection, everything's wired up properly, battery cable. And then I've got my gateway here. So if I could just move this up a little bit, I see they left the side panels off for me so that we can inspect the bus bar work as well. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So this is 1-to-1 scale. And follow our genset cable in. I see we still have some work to do on this. We need to connect up that cable into the generator bus bars, make sure the clearances are done properly. But so far, so good. So with this tool, something that would take weeks of back and forth adjustments, alterations, meeting after meeting, discussion with customer, back and forth to site. The weeks and weeks of engineering hell can be drilled down and reduced into 2 days of VR, which you can design on your desk, and then 1 day back on site where you just place the actual model into the real world. Now, let's say, for example, something was off in this design, right? My gateway clearance is wrong. My gen placement is wrong. Some cable tray isn't matching up. This device has the ability to generate technical drawings from this design. So again, that's part of the tool set, but I would be able to stick a camera here and show my view forward, orthographic. We could do a top-down view as well. And we can get all of our standard technical drawings exported into PDF. All right. If something was off in this design and I had to review it, and let's say we move it up, my technical drawings auto-update. So there's no more long, lengthy discussions on site, driving back to the office, asking somebody to update the drawing, get the update vetted. While everybody's on site, we can agree where what needs to go, make the changes, the drawings back at the office, or to update themselves. How cool is that? In phase 2 of our product, we will allow co-location as well, which would mean that multiple users in the same organization or different organizations can log into the same design and actively work on and participate in the building of this. As we build, this will create a running bill of material. All right. From the biggest inverter and battery down to the tiniest screw. Every cable tray is counted. And in phase 3, we will launch our PV simulator as well. It said battery low. Let me just climb through this quickly. Excuse me. Outside, we have our Enersol bifacial panels. I think you should be able to see the trees through the panels. And our mounting structure, obviously it's standing in the driveway right now, which is not the best. If you look really closely, you should be able to see the MC4 connectors. They're plugged in. So by version 3 or phase 3 of this launch, we would be able to simulate PV production. We would be able to simulate ground coverage ratio, self-shading. We would be able to, in phase 4, switch on our system and simulate faults. In phase 5, we would be able to do live training on these systems, where we could have our new installers that join our company go through a full virtual training without ever touching the physical product. Guys, this is the future.
Mark,
and just a secret. Sorry, Carl, yes?
Mark, sorry, what happens when we want to move something? Because this looks very nice, but everything's in place.
Yes. So for this demonstration, everything is locked into place so that I can't mess it up. This is obviously one of our technical engineers' current projects that they're working on, so I wouldn't like to mess anything up. But for our next training session, we would show you how to open up the tool menu, select the move tool, select what you want to move, and then it basically attaches to your controller, and then you just walk with it. You can snap it to X, Y, and Z on scale, similar to any 2D PC design software.
Okay, so you can literally move the inverter while you are busy looking at the view the way that you're looking at it now.
Let me see. You see, everything is locked. Let me do this. Like that.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there you've moved what looks like a generator.
Yes, that's correct.
So you've moved the generator 600 mils closer to the rest of the installation.
Correct. But now you'd see it starting to glitch out because that was a locked element that I just unlocked. So not good, but it's okay. For demonstration purposes, it's fine.
But it's that simple.
It's that simple. Again, if we take all of our engineering effort over the 2 days that we needed, and a secret, each element in this, from the tiniest battery base to the inverter, right, to the controller, each one of these elements were programmed to know what they are, what they're for, and they would all adhere to SANS regulation, wiring regulations, building code regulations, and also the manufacturer installation specifications. For example, if I try and place a battery base inside of its allowed clearance or outside of its allowed clearance to its neighbor or to a wall, it would highlight red and simply tell me I'm too close. If I try and run my cable system next to a water pipe, it'll tell me, according to this and that paragraph in the regulation, you are absolutely not allowed to do that.
Okay, so the program gives us the flexibility to change the design. What happens? So fair enough, the program was supposed to be locked, or the design was supposed to be locked, and we messed around with it by moving the genset. But if it's not locked and we move the genset, what happens to the cabling and the sizing of the cabling? Because I noticed that the cable tray stayed where it is, even though the genset moved. Is that something the program will take care of automatically?
Yes, that's correct. So in a later phase, we're busy ironing out the cabling system, but it's good that you asked. In, I think, phase 3 or 4, we'll implement the cable system. What that means is each and every component knows their function. and knows what they can and cannot do. The components and their terminals, for example, these battery terminal connections on the side of the controller there, they would know what's their minimum and maximum allowable cable size. Then you'd be able to trace a path of the cable from there all the way around and connect it to its counterpart. If you try and reverse polarity, positive and negative, it won't allow you. And as you increase the length of this cable, it would automatically calculate impedance, volt drop, resistance, and increase the size of the cable based on a curve, a predetermined curve.
Okay.
AC cable as well.
That's
and then your bill of material will be updated with the per meter per cable size that you used in your design.
Hi, Mark.
Yes.
On the design, let's say, for instance, we're on a site somewhere or whatever, and the minimum distance between the inverters will need to change by, let's say, of 15 mil or something. Will it then still not allow us to do the design, or can you override it in order to compensate for an obstruction that might be in the way?
Yes, you'll be able to override your own design. 1,000,000%.
All right.
So if there is a pole or something that wasn't caught in the, let's say, for example, it's a little barrier pole in a parking lot, and it wasn't caught with the initial site assessment, you could simply move your cable trays around it.
I'm just looking forward to, if an installation is done and something extra is added by the client himself, not by the design, that there is play that we can play with.
100%. You can move anything you want, and everything will scale and adjust accordingly. Your bill of materials will also adjust accordingly. Let's say I move my generator from that position 200 meters to another location. My cabling would update.
In this scenario that you have here, you obviously have taken South African prices, us in Namibia. We will be able to input our own prices of materials, whatever, accordingly.
That's a good question.
To go with the design.
That's a good question. Yes. So obviously this tool is for SIAAC customers only. All right. And it does come with a subscription, but with your subscription, you get access to your mobile companion app. So that would also be launched in either phase 2 or 3. And on that, you can edit your account settings, which is used for this app. For example, your local cable supplier, which you want to use, your local mounting structure manufacturer's pricing, even our local SIAAC offices pricing could be updated, so that you can look at a total bill of material with a total cost as you build.
Sorry, Mark. Are you guys looking at locking this in on only SIAAC Energy products, or are you open to actually introducing other manufacturers of inverters and batteries to be able to do such a design with a different manufacturer?
For now, our partnership with SIAAC Energy is really strong, and for that reason, we'll be locking it to SIAAC Energy, but that could change in the future.
Noted. Thanks.
Mark, I have a quick question on the software itself. So let's assume I'm someone moving into commercial industrial installations. I haven't done a hell of a lot of them. It's not gonna pay me it's not gonna be worth my while to subscribe to your software. Would you be able to assist me in doing one design for a specific customer using the software? What kind of support do you guys provide if I don't buy into the software? How does that work?
Thank you for asking that, Carel. That was going to be my next point. For any customer of SIAAC, our technical engineers in every branch have access to this technology, and they would gladly, for a one-off, we could, as long as we have all the right information, of course, we could do a design based on a layout that you've currently done. We could provide optimization options to your system, and then do the full design, which you can then present in virtual reality to your customer.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you would be nice enough to kind of do a one or two project, not dummy run, but you'd be open to doing a simulation. I'm really fascinated with the fact that it draws a bill of materials and that it adapts the bill of materials as you make changes to your design. That's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's really cool. So obviously the headset would not be the cheapest solution on the market. But our subscription package at the end of all the phased rollouts would combine all of your current subscriptions into one for a much cheaper price. I can't confirm the price yet, but obviously that would be a massive investment for somebody going into small, medium CNI for the first time. And obviously to show the value and the ability to turn over potential customers into sales with this tool. Yes, we'd be glad to do singular products in branch and then allow you to present it.
Yes, Mark. Quick question there. The structures that you have up there, these are structures that SIAAC has partnered with. If we were to do a design like that, and we use a different company for the structures, will it be able to implement that into the program, number one? And number two, does this link to the internet so it has actually live weather conditions? Let's say, for instance, I'm doing an installation at Ludritz, which is quite high winds.
Yes.
If it makes its own design, does it factor these kind of things in or not?
So your device's geolocation is updated every time you switch it on. So for example, if you start doing a project, let me run you through the project workflow quickly. When you get to site, obviously you'd unbox your unit. We would obviously ship this with a hard shell carry case, all the battery expansions that you need, all the rechargeable kits for the unit, so that you don't have to buy AA batteries for the rest of your life. Once you get to site, you'd open up this very nicely branded carry case and then set up your headset. When the headset switches on for the first time, right, it will save the geolocation of the headset. All right. If you do not have access to internet on site, then it will ask you for a geolocation afterwards, right? You pin your site location on the map. As soon as you create a new project in the headset and you name the project, your customer, do the basic settings for this project, then it will create a session in the cloud server, right, where all of your changes will be saved to. So it's not just local onto the headset. For that reason, anybody in your organization with that site's share code can access that site even while you are busy scanning the site. So you could potentially be on site scanning, and one of your technical engineers at the office could start designing based on what you've scanned already. But yes, there is cloud functionality, and using the geolocation in phase 3 or 4, when we bring in your PV simulation and your battery simulations for arbitrage, etc.
I'll check.
That's when we'll take your weather into account. In terms of the mounting structure, I would need to consult with the design team. But yes, wind loads would be factored in. And to answer your first question on the mounting structure design, obviously we wouldn't want everything done in this. So we would need to vet, for example, if you use K2, we need to vet this design with K2 and have them okay it as well. But yes, the short answer, yes on everything.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Sorry, Mark, when it comes to the subscription itself, is it going to change in any way as soon as you keep on advancing the functionality of this equipment?
No.
Like when you're saying you can, oh, I was going to say,
no.
Perfect.
Not at all. So the subscription model is only to cover the server expenses, because managing a server for this is quite expensive, and then the amount of data that flows up and down to said server. So full transparency, as we add features, the subscription won't change. It might change when the server fees change, or some war hits that country where it's hosted and we have to migrate, but we will notify you guys in advance.
Mark, I see Matale has his hand up. I don't know whether he's waving hello or goodbye, but I see his microphone's also on. So, Matale.
Thank you. Yes, I've been having my hand on. I thought maybe I want to ask questions. I just want to check, is this system capable for the design of municipal large systems, and is it only limited to South Africa, or can it be used outside the borders of South Africa like any other countries in Africa, if maybe there's a requirement for design of municipal systems? Thank you.
So it's not locked to South Africa because SIAAC as an organization is in Southern Africa. So we have offices in Zambia, we have offices in Namibia, we have offices all over. So no, it's not locked to any country. Yes, it can be used for large utility scale projects. The first version that you will receive when you purchase a headset just won't be able to do the grid compliance, the grid impact studies and your simulations on the headset. But that's something that we really are working to in the effort to have a one solution for everything PV. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Thank you. Yes, it does. And since you said it's only, or it can be used with Sunny energy, can these systems then be able to cater for such large utility systems, the Sunny energy systems?
The SIG Energy, yes. The largest that we have quoted, or let me say designed, quoted, and presented in VR was a 34 megawatt hour system built with SIG Energy.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, thank you. So if one has something like this, maybe that is working on, can I be able to contact you for guidance, and can you be able to assist?
100%, either myself or one of my team members. I will share all our locations, technical team details with the team, the AREP team, so that we can just disseminate that information.
I'll appreciate that, Mark. Thank you.
Mark, I see Benton has his microphone
Mark,
on.
just a question for myself.
Yes, Sipu.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you share the details of the different field offices, we currently based in Zambia, so it would be nice just to get a catalog of all the cost components, including the headsets as well. Just to see if we can just make a decision in terms of purchasing that as well. I don't know if there's a training component included there.
Yes.
And I know you mentioned something about support.
100%. So let me run you through the onboarding service for the headset quickly. Like I said, we're busy finalizing the subscription packages, finalizing the server. We've got phase 2 development in progress, which is very almost done, which would allow for the multi-user co-location. But for your question, when you purchase a headset from SIAAC, right, you would come and collect it from the SIAAC offices in that region. Once you collect, you'd be greeted by a concierge service, meaning somebody would sit down with you with the headset, explain to you everything, register you on the platform, because it's a closed platform. You can't download the software anywhere. It's our internal proprietary software. So you register with us, we assist you. There's a short training session, and from there's continued support. Obviously through co-location, where you could simply share whatever you're working on 4-digit code with us, and any one of our technical engineers can jump in and assist you with optimization and guidance.
Okay. When do you think you're going to be able to send that? After the call?
I'll share all the details with Carel from AREP. So one thing that I have to mention is we are officially launching phase 1, which is basic. It's just layout and visualization presentation version of this at the Solar and Storage Expo, the 23rd to 25th of March. So the official launch, you guys are getting a preview before the official launch. So I would be able to share final pricing by then. But for now, we could do indicative through AREP, definitely.
Okay, good stuff. All right, I think amazing
sorry,
stuff there.
Just the last question, Mark. When it comes to this design, right? As soon as let's say I have installed the system is now running. Am I able to update that on this type of model just to like for monitoring purposes or that type of application? Do you guys have that functionality in the system?
Yes. So via the SIG Energy API, we are planning to integrate that in a later phase. But we can pull your successfully commissioned systems data from the Cygen API and feed it into this application, so that when you open your design, you'd be able to manipulate how you see your PV plant information and visualize the PV data from string to string combiner into inverter, what the losses are, temperature via geolocation. So it would be, if I say it's going to be the complete all-in-one solution for anything solar, that's what I mean.
Perfect.
Also, as an organization, if you do larger projects and most of these decisions are made in the boardroom, right? And you have multiple headsets, you can sit around the boardroom table and present as I'm presenting now. And then let me just walk to the other side. You would be able to see one person on the one side, another person on the other. We'd be able to discuss the design, costing, and inside of presentation mode, your customer would be able to highlight certain elements like cable tray, batteries, PV, to see the individual cost of those items. Because most of the time, the customers don't understand the price of copper, the price of PV panels, the price of mounting structure, etc., and even the price of labor. In presentation mode, you'll also be able to, as you build, say, all of this is phase 1. All of this would be phase 2. And you can set the time duration of the phases so that when you enter presentation mode for your customer, you could run them through a time lapse of how the installation would go. Imagine standing in an open field, and showing your customer thousands and thousands of panels. And in a phased approach, see how your field is being cleared, trenching is being done, concrete work, mounting structure, panels, all on a week-by-week basis on a time lapse. I think anybody that comes to present with a piece of paper after you leave that boardroom would be in for a surprise.
So, Mark, the thing that fascinates me about what you're showing us now is that we're actually in the office. And you've scaled this to fit on a table. And this, for me, the guys who are making the decisions, they don't really want to be standing out in the field. They want to be able to visualize this around a table. And the fact that you can scale it and still see all the different components, that is insane. I mean, when I visited your offices, the only thing I saw was the full scale version. But being able to see what you're showing now, the guys who are making the decisions, this is ideally what they would want to see, and the type of environment where they're going to be seeing it. It can be visualized, and I think that has a lot of value. I see Byron, Benton, and Honor has their microphones on, as well as Aaron. Guys, I'm not sure if any of you have any questions.
Hi, Carel. Donnie here. Can I ask Mark a question quickly?
Yes, Donnie.
Mark, thank you very much. This looks very impressive. I'm actually currently busy with a concept design for a customer of mine for a 600 kilowatt SIG energy system.
Okay.
And this will greatly assist. You've obviously, because you've partnered with SIG Energy, the design is for 24, 25 kilowatt stack units. because it will be a parking lot with EV chargers in as well. So 5 batteries, EV charger, and then a 5 kilowatt inverter.
I see.
So yeah, would this be possible then to scan with the head at the site and then get assistance to do the design?
Sorry, Donnie, you broke up. You broke up just a little bit. Could you just repeat that
Okay,
last part?
so with the headset, I will be able to scan the site and then get assistance with the design, correct?
That's correct. But if your project is urgent, then we could design it for you and allow you to present from our headset.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is I don't think that one big design is going to justify the cost of a whole headset and stuff, which would be great to have. So that's why I was wanted to know if one of you guys would be able to either send up a headset so that I can scan it, or come up and scan it the site so that we can do this design and present to the customer.
Where are you based, Donnie?
I'm in the Free State in Bloemfontein.
Okay, that's a short flight. We can definitely partner.
All right, I'll just get your contact details then from Carel or the AREP team, and then I can contact you about it after the meeting.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Big pleasure. If there's no other questions, I'd like to just say that SIAAC is currently running a special, a Sergeant Stack month for the month of March special, where you get this entire frame with inverters, cables, DC protection, all the accessories required for either 50 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt hour, 5100, 5200, 5300, all the way up until 220 with 500 kilowatt hours of storage. So I think our marketing team has already sent out our specials via email, but if you haven't received anything, feel free to contact your closest SIAAC branch to inquire.
Mark, that's great. Thank you very much. What we haven't looked at is we haven't looked at the technical drawings, but I'm assuming if there are guys that are interested in a one-on-one demo, or maybe doing one of the actual sites, you guys will be able to walk them through the materials and the products that come along with the tool.
That's 100% correct.
Okay.
Guys, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hand is up. I was up. I don't know if it's not visible there. But my question is, I see the demonstration there. It shows, in my view, as I see it, it shows like it's a ground-mounted installation.
Yes.
So I would like to know if, for example, you are working on a site, let's say a large industrial site, whereby the modules themselves are on top of the roof, and you'd like to put the inverters and all the associated components inside, so that it's like the solar panels are on the roof, and the inverters and all the associated components are inside. Would this be able to map that out in such a way?
Yes, definitely. So you'd start mapping outside of the building, start tracing your walls, doors, DBs, fire extinguishers, all the stuff that you'd normally look for in a site assessment, and then you'd simply draw in your roof as well. So we have a roof component that you place as well, either curved roof, flat roof, angled, and you're free to manipulate your model in any way when you're doing your pre-site setup. As long as the tip of the controller is the actual location point. So if I pull up a wall and I push the tip of my controller against the wall, then I place it, then I know my wall is exactly in the right location in the model where it is in real life. So you would recreate your entire area in 3D and then annotate everything of importance, save the site, and take that back to the office. Then you can mounting structure on the roof. You could have carport structures. You could do with that whatever you need. Any type of mounting is available. And when you're done, when you're done, I forgot to mention, then you can simply remove your roof or decrease the opacity of your roof so that when you present to your customer, the customer in 1:1 scale could see the panels as we're seeing them now, or we could then simply scale it down and he could see through the roof into his indoor system.
Yeah, I think
Thank you so much.
that is what I was going to say is even though initially you want to scan your site, what you've got over here is you've got a detached version that is not stuck to a site. So it almost seems as if
Correct.
you have the ability to do the design in absence of going out to site. So let's say, for example, you stay in Cape Town, but your site's in the R, and that's an 8-hour drive. The customer's only sent you photos. You can see it's a flat surface, so you would be able to do your design without necessarily having site photos.
That's correct. You could. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. The absence of the environment or the reconstructed site in this example is the fact that once my site is built out like this is a 90% done model. Once everything's built out and positioned and verified on site and placed, there's no need for the physical site reconstruction anymore, because the next step in this process would be to take this model to the physical site and place it on the marker and verify, because we've got all that we needed from the physical site reconstruction already, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense. So something that's interesting about this is this program draws up the bill of materials automatically. So if you do your design and you kind of do it on a hunch, in other words, you didn't go out to site, you didn't scan it. I'm just looking at real life examples, because the rate at which the industry is moving doesn't always allow for guys to go out to site. So you're sitting at the office, you get an email of a customer sending you their load profile saying, do you guys want to quote? And they send a photo of where the installation needs to take place, and maybe they send you the dimensions of the room. So you don't, in the real life environment, you don't always have the advantage of going out to every single site when you price it.
Yes.
So
if your customer has the ability to take pictures and measure the site, by all means, you could do you could do the entire site with bill of materials without reconstruction. That's not a problem. Even if it's just a one-off to visualize your capability to a customer as a company, you could do that as well. You won't be locked in a step one where you need to reconstruct the site.
Okay, that's great.
You simply
Mark,
jump in and start placing batteries down.
Mark, I see Manos has his microphone on, and then Cello, and then Shabir. I don't know if they want to ask questions or whether they just happen to have their mics on. No, it doesn't look like it. So, guys, unless there are any questions, Mark, I don't know, is there anything else you want to say to conclude the meeting? Do we end it? Are there any last questions or comments?
I see there are some some questions in the chat. Okay. Can the design software be used alongside BIM softwares like Revit? Unfortunately not. Will you be able to use the VR headset and design a site building like an inverter room, for example? Yes, yes, we can. Yes, if there's no other questions, then please feel free to contact your closest SIAAC branch for the currently running specials, and then also please, the guys that are in the Joburg area and are able to come to the Solar and Storage Expo, we will be having a proper live demonstration there where you can play with the tool set, you can adjust the site yourself, and then everything will be clear. We've set up a very nice double-decker VR room in the expo hall, so it should be very visible.
Mark, just before we go, I see Matale saying, can we get the recording? Matale, yes, definitely. There is going to be a recording of the virtual demo. I don't know whether it's of this meeting specifically. Andrew wants to know how many people can connect to virtual view at a time, especially a client presentation on site. I'm assuming there you log into a server. So if you have more than one headset, there would be more than one participant, but you would need to have a headset for each participant. What might actually be ideal would be exactly what you've just done, Mark, where you've got one headset, but you can present the headset through something like a Zoom meeting. So you would be able to present to an entire board by using a single headset. So that should be able to work.
Yes, so you can currently, the same way I just shared my view to you guys, you could do that and share that to any type of meeting platform or to your companion app. So your customer could use the companion app to visualize what you're seeing, or simply have multiple headsets connected to the same project, and then you can walk around freely, ask questions, especially for the larger projects where one person is busy with maybe getting assistance from one of our technical engineers on the gen integration side, and another one is walking through with the site foreman to explain where we are and what's wrong with the placement and positioning of something. Multiple headsets to me is always the better approach, because you just get the feel for it. Even the viewers watching now on a 2D screen, you can get an idea of what you're seeing, but it's nothing like experiencing it yourself. It's maybe what you're seeing now is 10% of what the real experience is like.
And then Matthias wants to know, what will the typical inputs be to this level of the design? So if we, and he refers to a 100 kVA or 100 kilowatt system, do we just plonk down the inverters, or do we have to go down to the nuts and bolts? How automated is the software?
It's very automated. So you decide placement and positioning, but you can roll up. So the components that you place are already prepackaged components as they would come from SIG Energy. The box that you open from us, that's the component that you design with. So those elements are individual, and then you need to place them. They snap to the stands. So the mounting stand that the inverters and batteries were mounted on, they snap to those stands to match their connection holes. So in terms of that, it's automated. You can't make a mistake by offsetting it 15 centimeters in the wrong direction, if you understand what I'm saying. On top of that, you could do a preset as well. So if you mainly design with 5 batteries and a 0.5C controller in a specific configuration, you could save that as a preset and not have to stack batteries one by one every time. If you have a sled setup as the one I demonstrated, you could save that entire setup as a preset and bring it back in. Or it's up to you if you want to go granular and place the SPDs and breakers yourself, draw out the cables, connecting them yourself. It's very fun at first, but at some point you're going to want to do presets just to speed up the process a little bit.
Okay. That's cool. Thank you very much. Do you have any idea what the cost of the headset is? So if we look, is it like $4,000 a headset? Because I'm assuming the headset is apart from the software itself.
That's correct. So the headset is the hardware, which we modify in-house and then upload the proprietary software to. Unfortunately, $4,000 is a little on the low side. So for the final headset, for outright purchase would be upwards of between 45 and 75K, depending on where we can get to with the upgrades. So just to explain why the cost is that high, the lenses inside of the headset, primarily all of these designs would start out in an outside environment. The lenses of the headset are set up in such a way that if direct sunlight hits them, it could potentially burn the 4K screens inside of the headset. So we need to upgrade the lenses to disperse the sunlight and not concentrate that onto the screen itself. So there is some modification that needs to happen before you can actually use the headset for this intended purpose, which would increase the cost. The subscription model could be anything between 5K or 10K a month, depending on the size of your organization and the amount of users you have on the platform.
I think that answers a lot of questions because, first of all, Jocelyn wanted to know whether this would work on residential. And I know Jade said no. Your focus is more geared towards commercial industrial installations. If I look at the cost of the headset, then it's definitely out for residential installations. So you would be looking at projects that are ideally 1 million, 2 million, 3 million rand projects in order to justify the cost of the hardware. If the headset is somewhere between 40 and 70 grand and there are some modifications, that kind of puts the type of user that's going to be using the headset and the type of installations where you're going to be using the headset, that's going to define it, because you're not going to use it in a 20 kilowatt installation. If that's your first project, you're going to want to try and have slightly larger installations.
Carel, I beg to disagree.
Okay.
I feel like if the industry standardizes on VR currently, whether you're residential mainly or moving into CNI or already in utility, you can't afford to stay behind. That's the first point. The second point is the residential guy is normally the guy that he's the owner and operator of the business, right? He's the one going to sites, making sure everything is done properly and his customers have peace of mind, as well as he has peace of mind that his business is being run properly. And this guy does not normally have the time to sit and do very in-depth designs, which this tool could help them with. They could do a 20 kilowatt setup, lock the customer in the same day without doing lengthy helioscopes, downloading this, packaging that. You get where I'm going with this. So if this was packaged, the cost of the headset was packaged, that's the way I would do it. At least I would package the cost of the headset into the project, or at least into 3 or 4 consecutive projects, and then purchase it for an advantage.
Wow. Having said that, if you look at the type of risks associated with doing installations, as soon as you look at smaller scale installations, it's going to have a benefit to the guys doing smaller installations as well, especially if they do a number of small installations per month. Then the cost for the headset, I think you'd easily be able to justify it based on a volume of installation and ease of installation, especially if you take into consideration that the software automatically generates your bill of materials, So there are lots of risks that are taken away from the design and installation point of view. So I'm happy to be corrected by you as far as that is concerned. So that answers Jocelyn's question. Joss, you would be able to do it on residential installations, provided you can absorb the cost through one of the systems or a number of the systems. Walter wants to know is if the regulation library will be adjusted and updated. I would think so, yes, Walter. So you would be able to, in a couple of updates from now, I would imagine that you would be able to do installations outside of Africa, because in fact, most of the standards we have in South Africa at the moment are IEC standards. And most of the standards currently adopted by the SABS are IEC standards. So this tool will then be linked mostly, I think, to IEC standards. So you should be able to do designs and simulations outside of Africa. And then Jocelyn wanted to know about SunSync. At the moment, Joss, no, I think that question has been answered. SIG energy for now. I think if the product expands and they really have the energy to use different inverters, they will. But for now, it's a focus on SIG. Rolf wants to know, will you be able to use the VR headset to design a site like an inverter room, for example? Site or building like an inverter room. See,
Yes,
that one
you can.
was answered already. Nomkosi, does this technology only focus on the design phase before the project, or does it continue to work after commissioning? I think Mark has indicated that you would be able to link the performance and the performance dashboard to the set as well. So you would be able to use it before installation and design stage. During installation, you'd be able to use it post-installation to do an as-built, and then you would be able to use it along with the online platform. Does it produce production report? Yes, you link that to your online portal. BIM, no, you can't use it along with Revit. I think Mark has answered that. Will the recording be sent to you? Yes. Will a customer need a headset? Yes. Could customers explore the model like you would in a video game? Wow, that's an interesting question. Would we be able to explore the model like in a video game? Mark, there you go. Yeah, I don't think you've had a question like that before.
Explore the model like in a video game.
Yes. So in a video game, you can move around the room using your mouse, and you can alter the point of view by clicking and dragging the screen, which is a pretty interesting question. So you understand what the
Yes. I think the answer is yes, because I just need to make sure I'm understanding the question correctly. But for me, it's 100% like a video game, because I'm walking inside of the model physically. I'm walking around in the model. If the question is that you could use joysticks or mouse and keyboard input to traverse while seated, that's a functionality that we could look at, but which is not currently built in.
Wow, I actually think that would take the software to a different level from a user point of view, because instead of viewing through a VR headset, you'd be able to view from a laptop, and you'd be able to view. The only thing that you don't have is you don't have the three-dimensional ability to kind of walk through the inverter physically, but you would be able to scale up and scale down and change the point of view, which I think is a novel question. Thanks, Rolf. That kind of threw it on its head. Then Rolf says it would make it much more accessible. So absolutely. I mean, if you could have the functionality like you would in a video game where you can move stuff around by clicking and dragging instead of having the VR headset with the two handles, because I think there's a bit of a learning curve in working with the system. But this changes your model slightly. It drops the entry level, so it's going to make it a lot more accessible. But maybe you can play around tonight when you can't sleep and you roll around in bed. You can try and figure out how you're going to do that.
I definitely will.
Guys, that's been a 1.5 hour session. Thank you very much for all of you that have joined us. I don't know whether there are any more questions. Flip, I see your microphone's on. Are you going to be the last guy to ask a question, or was that a mistake when you logged in? Unless there's a response, I'm going to assume it's been a mistake. So, Mark, any closing remarks?
Yes, thank you for everybody for joining today, and I'm glad we had so much positive responses. That really warms my heart. As a closing remark, I would like to say I think Jade added the Vector website link to the chat. Anybody that does come to the Gallagher Conference Center for Solar and Storage Expo, there is a form on the website that you can book your demonstration slot for the expo. So please feel free to do that. And thank you again. It was really nice to be able to show this to you.
Excellent. Mark, thank you very much. Guys, we'll be processing the video. We'll be sharing the link. Thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.